Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we'll be talking about teacher education and that will be communication. If you like this video, please do like it and please do subscribe to my channel so that you'll be able to get more and more videos on teacher education and other related subjects. So let's start our discussion on communication. In communication, first we have the sender, someone who sends the message, or he's also known as the encoder, someone who codifies that message. Then we have the medium. What medium are we using? Whether we are using the oral medium or whether we are using the visual medium. Then we have the message. What message are we sending? And then we have the code. Which language or which code we are using. And then we have the receiver or the decoder. Someone who receives the message or decodes the message. Now, does the receiver understand the medium? If a person is visually impaired, if we use a visual medium, he may not understand. If the person is he has a hearing impairment and we use the oral medium, he may not understand. Then do we understand the message? And do we understand the code, the language we are using, or the code we are using, the gesture we are using? Do we understand the gesture? So if all these are understood by the receiver, then we get a feedback. So in our case, when we are talking of teacher education, the sender or the encoder can be the teacher and the receiver or the decoder is a student. Now it is almost like your input output device, that we give an input, then there is a processing and there is an output, and then there is a feedback. Okay, communication can be of three types. There is a verbal, non-verbal, or mediated. Verbal communication takes care of oral or written communication. Non-verbal communication can include gestures, taste, touch, smell, etc. Mediated communication can be maybe the television or the radio or the computers or the newspapers or any such thing, any such medium. Now when we're talking of the oral communication, the communication has to be clear. Clarity is important. It has to be simple. It has to be accurate. The person who is communicating should be fluent in that language, and there should be a continuity, or there could be a break in communication. Written communication. Written communication can be letters, reports, emails, notice or memo, etc. or these days SMS. These could be written communication. Mediated communication. Now we have the temporal media, this time. Suppose we listen to the radio, the news will not come back. If you want to go back, if you want to listen to it once again, the time is lost unless we have a recording device. We have a spatial media. There is a newspapers. We can go back and forth in space. We can read the first page, we can read the last page, we can come to the middle page, we can just go to and fro. Then we have the one-way communication. Suppose the radio or the television is one-way communication. Someone speaks and we listen. And we have the two-way communication, like the telephone or the cell phones these days. Then the mixing of media. Now we find these days in the radio or the television, you give a phone number is given, so you can talk to that person we the actor comes out and then says something, asks some questions. We can answer those questions. And we also have now these days the internet or the World Wide Web. We can communicate with each other so easily. Now, let's be specific now. Now, this word Tortoise. How does an Indian pronounce it? An Indian would pronounce it like tortoise because it would go by the spelling Tor Toi toy S-E toys tortoise. Now, if you pronounce it tortoise, the person whose mother tongue it is will not be able to understand what we are talking of, because what he pronounces is tortoise, something like tortoise. Now, so there is a break in communication. When an Indian speaks tortoise, a native speaker wouldn't understand what we're talking of. When a native speaker pronounces it tortoise, we may not understand. So what we say is English spelling is a very poor guide to pronunciation. Now, let me tell you a story. When an Indian went to Australia, and the Australian asked, "Have you come to die?" He said, "Why should I come to die?" He said, "Have you come to die?" He said, "To die is today. Have you come today?" That is how an Australian pronounces, Australian speaks. In another incident, an Indian went to a travel agent in Australia and he was asked, "How many miles?" He said, "How do I know how many miles?" He said, "How many miles and how many females?" So how many males and how many females? So there could be a break in communication in such cases. Now if you're in London and someone tells you there's a bison, and if you're thinking of a national park or a forest where you get a bison and ask, "What's a bison?" The bison is a place where you wash your face in. Just typical Cockney. A bison is a place where you wash your face in. And there's this joke about an Englishman and an American. An Englishman was asking an American, "Why do Americans pronounce schedule as schedule?" Because they pronounce schedule as schedule. And the American retorted, "Possibly because we never went to school." So like the problem is with your language. On the one hand, you're pronouncing SCH as sh. On the other hand, you are pronouncing SCH as sk. One hand you are calling it schedule, and on the other hand you are calling it school. But then the Americans are right that way. They're pronouncing SCH as schedule sh, and so there is not a problem. So they don't pronounce it as sh, they pronounce it as sk. The British pronounce it as a sh. And then this story about George Bernard Shaw. He was asked to spell fish. So what he said was Ghoti. And the person was surprised. So what's this? I asked you to spell fish and you are spelling Ghoti. Then Bernard Shaw said, "See, look at the word rough. Rough. How do you pronounce this GH? GH is pronounced as F. In the word women, 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 so that O is pronounced as I. And in the word nation, TI is pronounced as sh. So if that be so, so we have fish, which can be spelled as Ghoti. She was actually ridiculing the English spelling system. So that is a problem. That's earlier also I said, like, English spelling is a very poor guide to pronunciation. Okay, that's all from my side today.